My name is Chuck Reams. I am 36. I was a computer security specialist. I am also a very successful published author of young adult and romance fiction. I was 34 when driving to my mother's, I skidded on some black ice. I had been married to Karen Reams, née Carson, for 6 years. She was 32 when I put her car in the ditch, and was and is a sight for sore eyes. A beauty with exotic features, and long, straight brown hair down to her shoulder blades, blue eyes, and a daylight bright smile. I met Karen when I was 24, and was walking out of a restaurant after a client meeting. I heard a commotion coming from a couple of cars away from mine. It sounded like a whimper of pain. I went over toward the sound and found a young woman down on the ground holding a quickly swelling ankle. I went to her and told her to relax and take a couple of deep breaths. As I saw her visibly relax, I picked her up and parked her in the grass so a car leaving the lot wouldn't hit her by accident. Then I called 911 and told the young lady that I was going back into the restaurant to get some ice. I assured her I would be back ASAP. As I got a large towel full of ice and left the building again, I could hear sirens in the far distance. We were in a very busy area of the city, so I just hoped they were coming for her. When I got back to her, she was shivering. After I got the ice wrapped around her ankle, I ran to my pickup and got a moving blanket that I keep for ground cover if I have a breakdown on the road. I covered her with the blanket and talked softly to her to calm her somewhat. I had just about got her calmed down when the EMTs showed up. I backed away and I could see I wasn't needed anymore, so after giving the first responders my contact information, I left. I was at work the following Monday and getting ready to go on a client call when I was summoned to the office. When I got there, I was surprised when the young lady from the restaurant was there with a walking boot and crutches. My boss, Gary Carson, introduced me to his niece, Karen. Looking toward the young lady, Gary said, "Here he is, the man you were looking for." Then he turned to me as I walked in. "This is Karen, my niece. She wanted to return something to you." With that, Karen handed me the ratty old moving blanket. I laughed because she had even washed it. "You did not have to bring this back? I am just glad I had it. It looked to me like you were going into shock, so it was a no-brainer that you needed warmth. How bad is your ankle?" "I hope it is just a sprain." "Yes, it's a bad sprain, but not broken. I'll be in this boot and crutches for a couple of weeks, and the boot alone for a couple more. I wanted to thank you for your help. The EMTs gave me the information you gave them. Then when I told Uncle Gary about my falling off a curb and the name of my rescuer, he laughed so hard he had tears in his eyes. After I explained that I had a priority call to go out on, we exchanged phone numbers and I promised to call her as soon as I could. That was the start of a great dating relationship. I called her that evening and we talked for a few minutes and talked about getting together for a date. I took her to a nice restaurant and we had a nice talk. She told me she was 23 and had just completed her bachelor's degree in business management. She was currently working as an administrative assistant for an executive for a local manufacturing company. She also told me she liked live music of most types and live theater. As we parted that night, she asked if I wanted to date again. I said yes, and told her that I would call as soon as I was not on call. I explained that the business that I worked in was a 24/7 concern, and each technician and engineer was on a rotating on-call schedule. For the next week, it seemed that any problem that could happen to a computer system happened to our clients. When the week ended, I had put in almost 60 hours, and I was exhausted. Saturday, the rotation changed, so I called Karen. I told her of my rough week and asked if she minded if I just brought her to my house and cooked her dinner and we watched a DVD. She thought it was a great idea. We had dinner and watched a Game of Thrones DVD that was about a third of a season. We dated for about 6 weeks, and I took her back to the same restaurant that we went to on our first date. When I took her home that night, she told me she loved me and that she wanted exclusivity or for us to stop dating. She got an angry look when I tried to stifle a laugh. "Honey, I'm sorry for laughing, but I have been exclusive since I rescued you and for about a year before. You are the only lady that I have any interest in. I love you so much that there could be a parade of Playboy bunnies walking down the street and I wouldn't notice them if I was with you." She smiled, kissed me goodnight, and went inside. We dated for a couple of more months, and on her birthday, I asked her to marry me. She said yes. It seemed that this was a good time to meet the parents. My parents and my younger sister loved Karen. They thought she was wonderful, and that I was lucky to have found her. A brief but significant bit of trouble came when I was introduced to her parents. Her father was not thrilled that I did not get introduced before we were engaged. Karen started to say something when her mother stopped the inquisition with the words, "You asshole!" An attitude like that is what drove Karen away. She came back to have us meet the man she loves, and if you can't be civil, get your ass out of this house until they leave. He looked at me with undisguised hate. I just took Karen's hand and walked her out of that room. I said, "Karen, I love you with my entire being. You make the air I breathe sweet. Please don't take this wrong, but I will not go back into that room and will leave if your father is there. I know they are your family, but if your father is that dead set against me, we will be starting our marriage with a big problem. Please don't leave without me. I will go tell Mother we are leaving, and I will be right back." With that, she went back into the living room. I heard some yelling and Karen's voice. "You prick! You have to ruin everything. That man, who I love in there, is ready to leave without me if you don't leave. I will not force you to leave your own house, but I will never come into this house when you are here again. You will not be invited to the wedding. You will not walk me down the aisle. You will not give me away. I will not miss you. Your not being there will not be noticed by me, but it will be noticed by others. My mother is welcome. You are not." With that, she came back into the room where I was and grabbed my arm and we left. Karen said the only reason she wanted me to meet them was tradition. As to who would be the stand-in for her father, Aunt Karen's husband, Jeff, would do the honors. Well, Aunt Karen and Uncle Jeff were pleased and happy for Karen. They genuinely liked me and made me feel right like one of the family. When they heard from my Karen about the confrontation, they were not surprised. Plans for the wedding were in full swing when I got hurt on the job, and I was hospitalized or in rehab for most of a year. I had a broken back, hip, one arm, and both legs. I also managed to injure my groin to the point I was sterile. I was in a company car on the way to meet a client when a truck lost its brakes and T-boned my car in the driver's side door. The trucking company was bankrupted by the settlement I and the company got. It seems they knew the truck had faulty brakes and had been skimping on maintenance on vehicles. It was while I was in rehab that I started writing to relieve the boredom. My boss thought they were very good and sent several of the bodice rippers, romance novels, off to a publisher. I received a substantial advance and a contract for 5 more books. Then my sneaky boss sent the same publisher the young adult books, and I got another somewhat smaller advance and a contract for 2 more books. I would always need a back brace and walk with a limp. Karen stuck with me through it all. She was a brick even when I encouraged her to find someone who would not cause her the heartache and pain that my injuries had caused her. Because of the monies from the accident and the royalties from my books, I was advised to protect myself. I had a trust fund set up and had my royalties added to the legal settlement. I also had my lawyer write a prenup. Karen signed it without any protest. About 30 months after we became engaged, we were finally married. It was a wonderful wedding. The honeymoon was great, and other than a sore back from the long drive, I was fine and in love. I had the trust buy a house and some land outside the city, and we moved in after we had been married a year. Life was good, and things were moving along nicely when about 5 years after we were married, things changed. That October, her boss retired and the company replaced him in November with a much younger man. It was as if a light switch had been turned off on our sex life. For the next 6 weeks after she was assigned to him, I could have been a wart on her hand. There was no caring, no hugs, no kisses, and definitely no intimacy. Then one night I brought Karen home some roses and a box of chocolates that she loved. I was trying to show her my love. She didn't say thank you, give me kiss, or make any show of appreciating my gesture. What she did do is just bubble over about her new young handsome boss and how he was just the best boss in the world. She didn't notice I was getting pissed about all the praise. Okay, I was jealous, and probably for no reason. That night, Karen asked if something was bothering me, and like a pouting little boy, I said no and went and slept on the couch. My car wouldn't start, and my company car was in the shop. So I left a note on the box of chocolates telling Karen to rent a car until I could get mine fixed. I left for work in her car. The people in the office knew something was up and walked near me as if the floor around me was glass and there was a drop of a mile under it. At about 2, I got a call. It was Karen, and she was crying. "Chuck, what did I do? You were mad at me for some reason." I still had a good mad on, so I said, "Well, seeing as your new boss didn't cheer you up, I guess his shit stinks as bad as mine. I will go to a hotel tonight, and you can tell your wonderful asshole boss that you're all alone." Then I hung up the phone. I called the switchboard and told them that I would not accept any personal calls for the rest of the week. I stopped at the house, and Karen was sitting in the kitchen staring into space. I walked into the bedroom and grabbed a clean uniform, some clean underwear, and socks, and left without saying a word. The next morning, I was summoned to the boss's office. When I got there, he started to go off on me about how Karen had called their house last night and wanted to know what I had said about what she had done to piss me off. That put me right over the edge. I have worked in this office for more than 6.5 years, and never once pried into your personal life. Stay the fuck out of mine. Then I added, "I know you don't respond well to threats, but if you ever try to pry into my personal life again, I will quit." I stormed out of the office, punched out, and went for a drive to cool down. I was about an hour out of town when my company's cell phone went off. It was my boss. "Look, Chuck, I'm sorry for the prying, but your wife and mine have become good friends. My wife was upset and insisted I try to help." I was still steamed. "My resignation will be on your desk before the close of business today. I told you to keep out of my personal life." I turned the phone off, turned around, and went back to the office. I typed my resignation. I went to his office and put it in his hand, along with the office and car keys and company cell phone. I went back to my car and drove off. I stopped at a Walmart and got the cheapest TracFone flip phone and a 300-minute card to load into it. When it was fully activated, I called home. Karen answered. "Hello, may I ask who is calling?" "Karen, it's Chuck, your current husband. I am calling so you have my new phone number. I am staying away until you decide what is more important, your new boss or the husband you have ignored for more than a month." I continued. "I will continue to pay all of the bills, but when I do come home, I expect the wife I married to be there or you are gone. Okay?" "Chuck, what did I do? What do you mean by current husband?" "I don't understand what you are so pissed off about." "Well, to quote a wife I used to have when she gets pissed at me, you know what you did or didn't do. You figure it out. Please be out of the house tomorrow afternoon so I can retrieve my computer and my backup drives. When you figure out what I am pissed about, then maybe you can call me and tell me so I know you know. Don't bother calling my former workplace. Because of your bringing my boss into this, I quit today. I am going to call my folks and see if the apartment over their garage is vacant, and if it is, I will be staying there. Think about the last month, or at least since your wonderful young best boss in the whole world entered your life, and how you treated me, your husband. You know, the one that loves you. I called my mother and asked if the garage apartment was vacant, and if it was, I would like to use it for a week or two. She wanted details, and when I asked again if the apartment was vacant and if I could use it, she meekly said yes. I told her I would be there before the weekend. The next afternoon, I retrieved all of my writing stuff and about a week's worth of casual clothes. I went back to the hotel and planned my trip for the next day. I woke up in the hotel room to the sound of rain. As it was November in the upper Midwest, I knew that the roads would be bad, so I planned for my trip to take twice as long as normal. I was getting off the expressway about a mile from my mother's house when I hit the patch of black ice. I fought the skid, but the car ended in a ditch with a huge thump. My back gave a huge protest. I saw stars because the pain was so bad. Something also got tangled in my feet and the pedals. I took a few deep breaths and tried to relax. The pain lessened, and I reached down to see what had tangled in my feet. It was a bag from Walmart. Inside was a partial tube of KY, an open box of condoms, and some strawberry-flavored warming gel. I was devastated. I put the stuff back in the bag, stuffed it back under the seat, and called 911. I explained the while it was a minor accident, and that I re-injured my back and was afraid to move too much. They dispatched an ambulance. I called my mother and explained that I was going to the hospital. And lastly, I called AAA. The ambulance and the wrecker arrived at the same time. I told the wrecker people to tow the car to my mother's house. I had my back brace gently removed, was put on a backboard. I was then transported. As I had arrived in the ER in the early evening, I was left in a treatment room for a period of time, and I started to think of what I had discovered. Why had Karen betrayed me? Why didn't she just tell me she wanted more than I could give her and then ask me for a divorce? When I was finally taken in for x-rays, I was almost over my back pain, but I was bruised from the seatbelt. Luckily, the x-rays were negative, but the hospital decided to keep me overnight. My mother and dad showed up. Mom is mom, and wanted to smother me at the same time she was berating me for being careless. I asked Mom to let me talk to Dad for a couple of minutes as I had a problem that I needed his advice about. Mom said she would go get some coffee. Dad, I discovered evidence that indicates that Karen is cheating on me. Things have been bad at home since she got a new boss. I think she is cheating with him. What do you think I should do? Dad looked sad and thought for a moment before answering. If you want to save your marriage, just ask her straight out if she is cheating. If you want to end your marriage, gather all of the facts you can and use those facts to divorce her. I know you have enough in your trust to hire a private investigator. Do it and live with the consequences. One thing you cannot do is just ignore it, or it will eat you up inside. Thanks, Dad. I won't live with a cheater, but I don't have any ironclad smoking gun type of proof. I have left Karen at the house, but I am going to go back home as soon as I am out of here and move her into the guest room until I can prove it one way or the other. I won't show her the evidence until I need to. About that time, Mom came back and a nurse came in. The nurse told Mom and Dad that visiting hours were over. She also said that after the rounds tomorrow morning, I would be discharged and able to leave. I asked for and got my cell phone. I called my trust lawyer and asked him if he ever used a private investigator. He gave me a name and phone number. I thanked him and ended the call. I rolled over and discovered more pain spots, but went to sleep. In the morning, the doctor came in and checked me over and signed my discharge papers. I waited for Mom or Dad, and when they both came, I went to their house. I was stiff and very sore and very sad. At about 2, Karen called and asked Mom if she could talk to me. Dad must have told her what we talked about because she glared at the phone, covered the mic, and asked me, "Do you want to talk to that bitch of a wife you have?" I might as well get it over with. "Give me the phone," I replied. I took the phone and said, "Hello, Karen, ridden any brooms lately?" I heard a gasp, and then she said, "Why are you being such a mean asshole?" "I don't know. Maybe it's because since you got the pretty boy boss, you haven't been my wife, just a roommate." Think back. When was the last time we were intimate? It's been over 6 weeks since we've even had a brief moment together. I continued. I will be home as soon as I can arrange to get your car into a shop. I skidded into a ditch last night and spent the night in the hospital. I didn't call you because you couldn't have come up here anyway. I will get you a new car as soon as I can. Unless this one has only minor damage, but I hit the ditch pretty hard. It will only take me a day or 2 and I will come home. Then I let her know she was not off the hook. Please take your clothes and put them in the guest room. You will be using that until my loving wife returns." I heard another gasp, and the phone went dead. I called the investigator and gave him Karen's work address and told him what evidence I had. He laughed and asked if I used condoms. I said, "I have been sterile since I was hurt in a car accident 2 years before I got married. Do you want the job or not? If not, just stop making snide comments. I would not have called you if I wasn't serious." I added, "Also check out Jerry or Gerald Maxwell, her new boss. It is my suspicion that he is the one she is cheating with. I want his address, his wife's name, his kids' names, and even the number of fleas his dog has. I won't physically hurt him, but if he is screwing my wife, he will be punished." He apologized and quoted his rates. We ended that call. I was restless, so I went out and looked at Karen's car. The whole front end was pushed in. The front wheels were moved back at least 3 inches. I grabbed the bag of stuff and took it up to the apartment and hid it in a secret compartment I had made when I was a teenager and needed to hide some booze. I called my insurance agent and a mechanic I knew in the city back home. The agent said he would send an adjuster out in the morning, and the mechanic said he would fix the car I left home. I then went back down and got the clothes and my writing stuff out of the trunk of the car. My laptop and printer were in a solid aluminum case in foam padding like a pro photographer uses, so I thought they would be okay. I took everything up to the apartment and went down into the house for bedding and bath stuff, towels, soap, washcloths, and such. After a shower and checking that the computer came through okay, I went to bed. I had a hard time getting to sleep and woke up several times from nightmares of Karen and her asshole fucking in my bed. About 10, the next morning the insurance adjuster arrived. He totaled the car and asked if I wanted the car or if the insurance company should scrap it. When he told me what they would deduct if I kept the car, I told him to arrange to take it away. I promised to have it empty by the afternoon, and they could just take it when it was convenient after that. He wrote the check and left saying he would have the car removed by the weekend. As I was emptying the rest of the stuff out of the trunk, I decided to check in the spare tire well, and there was another shopping bag. Inside was a wadded-up bustier and a pair of crotchless panties. It hurt finding the bag and was just another nail in the coffin of my marriage. Dad took me down to the local Ford dealer, and I bought a new F-150 with all of the bells and whistles. I had to pony up a hefty amount of money more than the insurance check. I decided to pack everything up and empty my hiding place and drive back to my home. On the drive, I thought about things I could have done that caused Karen to forsake me. I also thought about what my life was going to be like when I was divorced. When I pulled into the drive, my car was where I left it, and there was no other car. When I went into the house, Karen was not home. I assumed she was at work. It was only 2 in the afternoon. The phone had the message light going. It was Karen. As I listened, she said, "I finally realize what has made you so mad. I'm sorry, I never meant to hurt you, but I was blinded by Jerry's aura, his bullshit, and his demeanor. I am going to stay with Aunt Karen and let you decide if there is a way we can save our marriage." I quit that job and I told the HR department exactly why. Jerry will not have a job after tomorrow. Please think about something I can do to get us over this. I'm sorry, goodbye. Well, that made the investigator unnecessary. Then I decided to change his focus to get the dirt on Mr. Maxwell. I called him and told him of the changes. In the bedroom, I saw that Karen had not taken any of her clothes or her grooming and makeup stuff. She did take her jewelry case and some of the cash we kept in the house for incidentals. Not much of it, but a couple hundred was gone. I wasn't worried about that, but I was struck by my clothes fashion-conscious wife did not take any of her clothes. I wondered if she felt she had just caused a bump in our marriage. I was still very angry, but she was not here to scream at, so I just had to suffer in silence. Not my style. I called Aunt Karen. "Would you ask Karen what she wants me to do with her clothes and makeup? She left a message that she wanted to know what she could do to get me to forgive her. Please tell her that forgiveness is not needed, as I will never forget the betrayal. You might also mention that we never used condoms, KY, or flavored warming gel. She also forgot her sexy clothes. I apologized for laying that rant on her and ended the call. I started to pack Karen's clothes that would not be destroyed by being stuffed in garbage bags. The stuff on the hangers, I moved to the closet in the small bedroom that was the farthest from the master. A small and childish gesture, but it felt good. At about 7 that evening, Karen called and wanted to know where we were going in our marriage. We are not going anywhere in our marriage. You destroyed that the first time you dropped your panties for someone other than me, your once loving husband. You have hurt me and us beyond healing. I do not want to ever see you again, but you need to get back here and take your stuff before I burn all of it. Does that answer your question? Karen sobbed and ended the call. I did not hear from her for more than 3 weeks. I had her served with the divorce papers about 2 days after she had called me. The next day, Aunt Karen came and got the clothes and the 2 grocery bags with the evidence in them. She left Karen's wedding and engagement rings. When she finally contacted me, it was with the signed divorce papers and a request that she be given a chance to talk face to face. I agreed that we could meet, but it would not be at my house. I suggested that we meet at Jerry's house. I heard a gasp and the call ended. About a week after the call from Karen, I got the final report from the PI. Karen was living with Jerry, and his wife was trying to take him for everything. Now I understood why the Jerry suggestion caused a gasp. The divorce will be final in about 6 weeks. I am writing full-time, and I have a college co-ed who is my paid proofreader. She lives on campus, and I send her my files, and she turns them around in less than a week. I never got any explanation on what caused Karen to stray, but Jerry got his punishment. He got her. Now he has to look over her shoulder for the rest of the time they are together. Time passes, and life continues. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.